Hello, hello. My name is Timothy, or Timo, or Timoteo, or Timothy, or any variety of those. And this is the first series, the first installation, I guess, of this portion of my vlog, Tereré, Rupi, focused specifically on my experiences down here in Paraguay during my Peace Corps service until August 2027. And it's thundering out right now. Probably getting one of the last big thunder showers of the season, maybe. So I figure it's a great time as any to do some reflection and have a little vlog put out there, because I'm not doing anything else today. And a bit of a different location as well, just because of my pozo is currently flooded, but I can see it, so it's basically the same thing. But yeah, to get started, my first video, I wanted to mark the occasion with a little bit of reflection. The 29th of October, I believe, was officially the 5th month anniversary of being here in Paraguay, in Paraguay, for my Peace Corps service. And I figure that's like a good mile marker, or kilometer marker, I guess, to kind of look back on some of the lessons I've learned or relearned as I look forward to the next 5 months, the next 2 years, give or take. Especially now that all that training is basically over, and we just had a little reconnect in-service training until the next time we will all be together intentionally as a cohort will be in August, which will come by a lot quicker than it seems. So with all that explanation out of the way, I think I'll just kind of get started, and we'll see where we end up. I have about 10 or so lessons or experiences that are, in a way, they are tailored specifically to Peace Corps and to my experience here, but they can also really be tied to just life in general, as most things can be if you look hard enough. So I'll just start, and we'll see how we go. So number one, the dogs are currently yelling at an ambulance passing by, so that's fun. But number one is basically around how this experience, or really any experience, to connect it already, can really be made to be as serious or unserious as you make it out to be. And I think as that relates to Peace Corps, speaking from my own experience, speaking to myself with this, is that I definitely put a lot of thought and intention into this decision. I was definitely that kind of person to think, should I, shouldn't I? What am I giving up? Opportunity costs, pros and cons lists. And so, of course, I made the decision to be here, but I think along with everyone else, right, I definitely come from this wanting to make this experience the most it can be, and wanting to make an impact. And of course, I think people really get caught up in the work you're doing, the impact you want to have, maybe how you can connect this to your job, and the sense of productivity and outcomes kind of driving our experience here. And in a sense, I think that there's a positive side to that, giving you a sense of direction, of motivation, of helping smooth out the roughness that can be had with this experience of knowing what you're doing and knowing what you're here for, and having these goals. But I think with that kind of goal setting also brings with it a lot of stress of wanting to meet those expectations for yourself, and of wanting to feel like you're hitting your goals, and of trying to weld or to mold this experience to what you want it to be, which I'll kind of speak about in a few of the other lessons I've written down. Is that I think oftentimes where you put so much pressure on something to be a certain way, or to meet these lofty expectations, that you just make more trouble for yourself. And when those expectations are inevitably not met, or when things inevitably go sideways, or people don't show up, or you have a bad day, and it kind of all comes crumbling apart. And so I think this is kind of speaking on a reflection I had pretty recently as I was just walking one of my evening walks as the sun goes down, and my hands behind my back, pondering as one does. I was just meeting people, still meeting new folks every day, saying hi, and striking up some conversation. And I kind of had this this kind of blanket, this wave of calm, kind of wash over me. Just basically, this feeling of like it's all going to turn out all right. I think a lot of the work is done by just letting it happen, by not putting so much pressure on things. The impact you have is within the people you meet, and the conversations, especially in my role as I'm a first-time volunteer on my site. And so, a lot of my work is just showing that this is a thing that can happen, and that this stranger can do this work. And so I think that's all to say that there's a time for seriousness, and of course, I am here to do important work, and I am coming from America. This is an incredible privilege, an honor, and opportunity. So of course, I want to take it with a certain level of seriousness and intention, which I think I'm doing. But you'll save yourself a lot of trouble overall on the whole by just letting go. I guess maybe that's a common theme. Just letting go, letting things happen, embracing the day, embracing the opportunities that are given to you, versus the stress of things not going how they should go. I think that can be said for a lot of things in life, in goals and careers and that kind of thing, where there's a time for seriousness, and there's also a time just to let things happen, and just to trust that it's all going to be, the experience is going to be what it's going to be, and that I'm capable, and that I'll take on whatever I need to take on to get to where I want to go, and that it'll be okay at the end of the day. So I think that basically sums up that first point of mine. Going to number 2, and this is a really big one. Again, I'm really speaking to myself with all these lessons that I'm relearning. I think this is something that kind of resonates with a lot of other people who are maybe in the same position of big life change like this. But basically, it's the advice, or it's the lesson that by coming here, by leaving the United States, by leaving your old life, that you will not be, in fact, leaving your problems behind. And that we have like a 100-pound carry-on allowance or checked luggage allowance when you go to the Peace Corps. But there's that secret 10 pounds or 30 pounds or other 100 pounds that you kind of bring with you. That kind of has a way of unloading itself or sneaking up on you while you're here, to end that analogy. I think I wouldn't say I was so much running. I think I was definitely running towards a lot of things, not just running from things, of wanting to have make these connections and see this new part of the world and have this kind of impact. But there are certainly some things that I was at the very least trying to distance myself from. My dad's passing, some family dynamic things, just want to get some space from to better reflect on, and some personal development things as well. And that, what I will say is that you certainly can't run away from your problems. No, they might show up differently here in a different context, but they will still be there. Especially my own. I think I'm definitely, and one of my things I've consistently been working on is this horrible habit of comparison, and of this need for external validation, being so worried about, and emotionally, irrationally, kind of viscerally worried about fitting in and wanting people to to care about me and to be included and to not feel like I'm on the outs of things, or of wanting to be loved and wanting to be welcomed into these group settings. I want to be validated, and that's a pretty common worry, and it's a pretty common insecurity of people, right? But I certainly have not left that behind. There's always that voice in my head when it comes to even my fellow cohort people. When they're planning or little, the cliques and the groups that naturally form through this process. I think I've definitely caught myself feeling like on the outs of some of these groups. Of like, oh, what are they doing? I wish, they're, or they're meeting up, and I'm not there, and am I ever gonna like make these connections with these people, or it's like with the work I'm doing, like, am I not doing enough of my language, or the people in my community, like, what do they think about me? And again, just kind of tying into that lesson one of like the seriousness and the pressure you put on this experience to be a certain way, really kind of feeds into those insecurities or whatever problems you're having, whether it's personal or interpersonal yourself. Like all those will come with you. Unfortunately, right? If there's anyone who's hoping that they can just escape, where I think my great friend Sarah gave me this piece of advice, and I'm sure she got it from somewhere else, but it's really great. I still think about it this day, but she basically said, wherever you are, there you will be. And so it doesn't matter if you're in, Peace Corps, or if you chose to upend your life and backpack around Southeast Asia or France or wherever. Like all those things you're trying to run from will be with you. And I think it's maybe something I talked about in one of my other vlogs is that I think what this opportunity does provide, or opportunities like it, is the context change to maybe look on these problems in a different light, right? I think it's one thing to observe your actions when you're within that space versus being a little more separated or having a little more distance from it. I think something like Peace Corps, especially, I think it gives you a lot of free time to maybe sit with these thoughts, and as I kind of mentioned, look at them head on, face to face into the abyss, so to speak. And if you're willing to take that time and that effort and that intention to kind of start to tease them out and kind of see where they're coming from, then I think a lot of progress can be done. Kind of speaking from my own experience, kind of unwinding these insecurities, these thought patterns of insecurity. I think like I'm not doing enough, or this worry about solitude or being alone and want to be with people. And I've definitely done things that I've been uncomfortable with to feel like I am part of the group, to feel like I'm doing what other people are doing, whether it's partying or drinking or other habits. And that I think, especially being in one of the beauties of Peace Corps is the solitude that it provides. If you allow it to, I think a lot of people get really nervous around the idea of solitude, which I think I'm learning that I really love solitude, or at least a balance of it, of course. But I really love doing my own thing and having this opportunity to just sit, to reflect, to be a little disconnected from people and everything has given me the opportunity to sit with these thoughts and these feelings and kind of just ask myself, like, what are these thoughts doing for me? And how can I best, go for, how can I best live the life I want to live? And so, of course, that comes in waves. This isn't a one and done kind of thing. But I think it's been really helpful. And I think I've very quickly found a lot of power in my oneness, my solitude, and my reflections, and my journaling, and just sitting in this and figuring out this like internal validation, this internal motivation, and relying a lot less on this external stimuli, this external validation of other people, of other thoughts and ideas, and just really sitting and thinking about, what do I want out of this experience? What do I want for my life? What would success mean for me? And what would meaning? What kind of meaning do I want out of this experience? And so I think I have, through this opportunity and through my intentional leveraging of this opportunity, I think I've started to find some answers for myself, and I think I've come to be a lot more confident, and not even confident, just secure in who I am and what I want, and the kind of journey that the universe or God or the Buddha or myself, whoever has crafted for me, of like just really taking ownership of like, this is my journey. I am who I am, and I'm incredibly proud of that. And I don't, don't need this external validation, and I don't need to do things that aren't meant for me because I know what my journey has in store for me. And I think there's such an incredible power in that. But now, it's like I know it's for me. I know what isn't for me, and I can much easier say yes or no to these experiences, these opportunities that come up. And again, I think I am very excited for the summer and these next couple of years, just to sit and I have a journal and I want to journal every day and just get these thoughts out. And I want to read so much and doing everything I want to do, which is another point I'll get to. That's the thing I'm most excited about, is just kind of nurturing this inner curiosity, this inner hunger for learning and for figuring out what do I want. People write whole theses on the external kind of validation culture we have, and the consumption and the attention economy and all that stuff, and that it's so hard to think for yourself. And so I think kind of being taken out of the US and not being on social media and not watching the news and really just focusing on I want to be here, and again leveraging this opportunity has been really great. Leveraging this distance from my past kind of context, my past experiences, my past triggers, so to speak, and sitting with my problems, I think has been really helpful. They've certainly come with me, but I've been able to see them in a different light. And so I think that's kind of what I want to speak on that point. Is that, again, just to summarize, you certainly will not leave your problems behind, whether that's with, I don't know, an external validation, or self-criticism, or insecurity, or romantic issues, or familial issues, or XYZ, whatever that problem is, anxiety, depression. You will not leave those problems behind, and in some instances, being here will intensify some of those problems. But sometimes, right, you need to sit through that experience to kind of get to the other side. The only way out is through, like I've mentioned before. But if you're willing to give it the time it needs, the process, the time it needs to unfold, and to, again, intentionally sit with these emotions, you can get a lot of benefit out of it. Again, if you have an open mind to whatever might come out of opening that box, Pandora's box. And again, some people are really scared of that. That's understandable, but I think that's just speaking on my experience. That's been very kind of empowering and impactful for me, those experiences. So I think that's kind of where I'll leave it for point 2 on my reflections. Number 3 is kind of tied in, and these are all kind of intermingled. But number 3 is kind of tied into number 1. Basically, that the work that we do here is whatever you want it to be, whatever your definition of your work, kind of speaking to what impact you want to have here, is really whatever you want it to be. And I think that's one of the special things about Peace Corps, is that it's the unstructured nature. They have so much freedom to make it what you want of it. And that's something really personal kind of reflection on this point that I've kind of had just this last week, being back in site and actually doing the work, so to speak, the big W work and the small W work. And it's kind of unique to my experience as well, being a first placement volunteer, and it's kind of a 6-year series. 3 volunteers, ideally, 2 volunteers who will come after me here. Kind of taking off that pressure and that seriousness off my shoulders and letting myself relax, is that really what I'm here to do, as I see it. And in the frame of sustainability, which is a key part of the work we're doing here, is that what I'm really trying to do is build the foundation for whoever comes after me. I think there was a Peace Corps volunteer here 12 years ago or something. So basically, I'm brand new. And so what does that work mean in that instance, when no one's worked with someone like me before, when this is the first time, when you're learning the language, when all these, you're doing all these things for the first time, both for yourself and for other people in your community. And I just had this epiphany of sorts, where it's like, I'm just, I'm just here to show people that this is a normal thing, right? That I'm a normal person, and yeah, I'm weird. I'm a stranger, I'm a foreigner. I do things differently, but I'm also like generally an easygoing, chill, fun person to be around. Um, and anything I do in that kind of vein will make it easier for the next volunteer to maybe do a bigger project, right? If I never get a grant done, if no one comes to my clubs, if everything kind of falls apart, that's totally okay, because that's a part of the work. And if I leave, my site here with the only thing being done being the positive impression I made on people, like that is good. That is more than good enough. That's how I see the work I'm doing. Right, I put a lot of value in that small W, interpersonal, cultural exchange kind of work, where it's the conversations, it's the shared meals, it's the breaking bread. It's the little everyday things that will have so much bigger of an impact than what the logic project frameworks I'm trying to report on VRG, all these kind of things, as I see it. And I think it's also, I don't know, just for an example of that. So I am blessed to be living by some neighbors, and I have a little kid, 8 years old or so, who comes over just about every day. Ask what I'm doing, ¿qué estás haciendo ahora? And we play partido with this football and cards, and he shows me his toys, and we play Uno, and ask him how his day's doing, and all these little kind of things that don't really seem, meaningful or impactful in the moment. But I am very reflectful and very aware of the fact that the impact I could have on this young mind over these next 2 years could have a butterfly effect to who even knows what's possible. Just having this interaction of being a good mentor, of being someone that this little kid remembers in a positive light, or of maybe even hopefully looking up to, but oh, maybe that's someone I want to be, or oh, maybe he told me I could be anything, so I want to be a doctor, or I could go anywhere, so I want to go to Japan, or I want to study abroad. And I think it's little moments like that. I'm tearing up just thinking about this little kid and the love of my life. I'm so blessed. Just thinking about that opportunity. I'll probably have a bigger impact there than any English class I try to set up, or any charla I give, or you don't know what impact you're having. And it's all to say that with a structure, so with such a lack of structure, right, it can be hard to kind of see these signs of the impact you're having. And so I think, again, this is just me kind of telling myself in the camera that yes, you are making an impact, even if it's not obviously apparent in the moment, and you can't write it down in a report sheet, and you can't get a percentage out of it in an outcome and whatever. Like, you are having an impact just by being here, just by showing up, just by doing the work, just by being yourself, by following that journey that you're meant to be on. That moves mountains. And again, it's like I'm setting the next person up so that they can reach even higher. And like, that's kind of what I want out of this. Again, some people have different wants out of this experience, but I do really focus on just being here, being present, sharing Tereré. This kind of human to human interaction is what I'm really here for. Everything else is just a bonus in my mind. So if that comes with a lot of really slow days, a lot of reading and reflection, like that's great for me. I love that. And if someone comes to me with an idea they want to do, and like I'm all game to do something like that. But that's really what I want to kind of ring home, is that you can make this experience what you want it to be, right? Again, it can be as serious and as planned out and as go and productive as you want it to be, or it can be as slow as fluid as you want it to be as well. And I think both frameworks are valid depending on the person and what you want out of this experience. But I'm really wanting something greater out of this, kind of being the pondering person I am. But yeah, just know like you're having an impact, no matter where you are in your journey, no matter how confident you are what you're doing. Like just the positive interactions you're having, or setting the groundwork for better work to come, come after you. And I think that kind of legacy creation it is worth so much just in of itself. So I think that's basically what I have on that point. Before I start tearing up again, I will move on to number 4. This is also a really good one, and there's a lot of ways to connect this. But it's the fact that you are going to miss things, and that is okay. And I think you're going to miss things in all frames of life. Like I know I have missed things here in my site, like festivals, family gatherings, church things I didn't know about until I saw it in the WhatsApp statuses that had already happened, or things that I've said no to so I could balance my own kind of personal goals and my own personal health, or things at the colegio, the escuela, or things with my host family, or things with I think in sight there's things you will miss. There are things you will miss with other cohort members who you see WhatsApp statuses of people meeting up in other towns, or communities, or celebrating holidays, or cooking foods, or other different cohorts and them doing their own things. You'll miss that as well. You'll also miss things from home, of course. You'll miss your friends and your family and social media. Like there's things always going on. Or not even events, right? You'll miss food, you'll miss hobbies you used to do, you'll miss TV shows you used to watch, or movies you used to watch, or whatever you want to put into things you're going without. Like you will miss things, but I think that in a sense is a core part of this experience as well, is again like taking yourself out of where you were and plopping you down. And I think there's a certain level of sacrifice inherent to this whole experience to make it what it's supposed to be. Of course, some people sacrifice differently as far as materialistically. Again, it kind of depends on where your natural level is for what you expect out of your surroundings. I think I've always been someone who can do okay with very little, just how I was raised. And like I got AC here, I got a bed, I got a desk, I got a fridge, I got everything a man needs. So I have yet to really feel the homesickness for foods or media or that kind of thing. Of course, other people are different. And again, I think there's been some times where I've struggled with like seeing what other cohort people are doing, and again, kind of speaking that into that your problems coming with you and my insecurities around that, but. I think there are some people who come to Peace Corps or other experiences like this and have a natural want to try and meld it as closely to what their experience was in their home life. Which there's a point. There's something to be said of like comfort foods or coping mechanisms, and especially when the days are really tough, like leaning on these pieces of home. There's a space for that. But I think I can definitely kind of go too far in kind of forgetting one of the big pieces of this experience is kind of learning what you can go without and learning what's really important. And also trusting yourself and your journey of why you're here. In that, I've missed a lot of things, but I've also done a lot of great things. And kind of trusting in the fact that trusting in the impact you're making, and that I can't do it all. Like I can't meet every single person in my site. I can't go to every single birthday or mass or reza or holiday celebration. I just can't. I can't do that in the U.S. So why would I think I could do it here? Again, putting so much pressure and wanting to integrate and wanting to show up and wanting to put the best foot forward. Again, like, of course, there's a balance, but I think at the end of the day, you just really have to be yourself and just trust in the process of that. Things will come up. You'll do what you can, and like as long as you go into it with a good mindset and a good heart and good intentions, like you will have the impact you're hoping to have. And so, while for me, I'm not really worried about missing Halloween or Thanksgiving or Christmas. In my mind, I think it'll make those experiences all the sweeter, figuratively and literally, when I get to experience them again. And just how much I will love to be with my family and my friends again in person by having this time away. And so I'm not really worried about being away from things. I think it's good to be off of social media. I think it's great to not be watching TV or a whole lot of media in general. I really want to be here, but I think missing things is part of the process, and of sitting with those feelings of why do I miss this? And like, is this a genuine reason, or like is this coming from somewhere else that I should sit with? Because again, I think we are incredibly adaptable creatures, and we can make the best with just about anything we're given. I can eat eggs 5 different ways for my entire 2 years here, and I'd still be happy. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like I don't need all these recipes. I don't need all this stuff. I can my contentment comes from within. I think that's been very impactful. So I think there's a danger of losing out on a part of this experience, but trying to meld it so closely to what you know from where you're coming from. And of course, some people are forced to, but I think in a place like Paraguay, what's so kind of good for me is there's so much opportunity. Like we have a lot of resources here, but as far as food and internet and that kind of thing, like I could really make this as close to home as about I could make it. So I have to intentionally choose to kind of keep a distance from these things. And I think that is helping me build like an internal, I don't know, an internal certainty that maybe I wouldn't be able to make if it was just kind of forcibly taken away from me by just being plopped down without these kind of luxuries. So that's kind of where I'll end that note before it gets too long. Number 5, again, weaving in throughout all these other points, is that you need to trust the reasons why you came here, and do what you're here to do. My handwriting is kind of atrocious. Again, speaking on insecurity and like the kind of baggage we bring with us, and maybe like that kind of like before making the leap, all these thoughts of like, is this the right thing? Am I missing out on this? What else could I be doing? The opportunity cost. I think I've gotten a lot better at just trusting myself, and like I ran the lists, I ran the numbers, and I chose that this leap of faith, this calculated leap, was worth the uncertainty. And so ever since then, I've really tried to catch myself whenever I'm starting to doubt myself. Where it's like I watched the YouTube videos, I went on the Reddit forums, I talked to people who've done this before. It's like I was about as prepared as anyone could hope to be for this, and no one's ever 100% prepared. No one ever really knows 100% what they're getting themselves into or what they might look like on the other end. But I know I'm coming into this with the bestest of intentions and the bestest expectations, and you gotta trust yourself. It's like I know why I'm here. I know what I want out of this. The internal validation again. Speaking on that, bringing that up another time. And that it will be what I want it to be, because this is the mindset I'm going into this experience with. And so it doesn't matter, there's no sense in thinking about what you're missing out on or what other people are doing, or this buyer's remorse, because all that does is brings you down and slows you down. And so I think it's just important to focus on, what am I here to do? What do I want out of this experience? What are my abilities? And doing the things you need to do to accomplish whatever it is you were put here to do. Again, whether that's by your own hand or the universe or God or whatever that might be. Just really owning your decision and trusting yourself and having confidence in yourself, I think, is key in this. I think that's been really helpful for me. Where like I know why I'm here. I know what I want out of this experience. I know what I'm here to do. And it's kind of in the sense like the law of attraction. Like you'll get out of this what you put into it, the energies. And so I want this to be as life changing of an experience as I want it to be. And so that it will be through my manifesting and my making it so. So that's kind of point number 5. We're only halfway through, and I believe it's been about 30 minutes. So this is going to be a long one for you today, but I got nothing else going on. So number 6, trust the process and things will unfold as they will. Again, these are kind of just, these phrases are kind of synonyms for each other. I think I've kind of already talked about this a little bit, but I think what I want to speak about on this point is just the power in letting go. I think I've spoken about this before. That again, we just put so much pressure on ourselves to make this experience what we need it to be, or what we think we need it to be, what others tell us we need it to be, in order for us to be satisfied or to feel like we're having an impact or to meet our expectations. And it's just like I'm talking to myself into the camera. It's like, buddy, like you just gotta like let go, like let your shoulders down. Don't put so much pressure on yourself, and just trust the universe that things will work out. Things will come to you. The opportunities will come to have an impact. Like you are having an impact. Like you don't need to like worry about the clubs you need to do or the whatever it might be. Like it will all come in time. You have so much time to get these things done. And so much time to not do anything. Like that's one of the beautiful things as well. If not, I think that's something that should be cherished. To just do a whole lot of nothing, and just trust the process, trust the people who've come before you, trust the trainers, especially in Paraguay. I think we're like the second oldest running program of Peace Corps. Like they know what they're doing. They know more or less, right? They know what works. They know what doesn't. It's like even when you're frustrated or when you're in the dumps, it's like you gotta accept it. Like this is a part of the process. I have overcome every obstacle I have come across thus far. So why would this be any different? And just kind of laugh at yourself, right? Don't take things so seriously because nothing is ever that serious, especially when it comes to language. And just like as long as you're seen trying, whatever that might be, with a hobby or a club or just meeting one new person or just leaving your house for a 5-minute walk, like just trust the process, let go, trust that the universe, has good things in store and that you will do what you need to do to put yourself first, and it'll all work out. So I think that's a bit of a shorter point, but it's really trust in yourself, trust in the process, and let go of these worries and these expectations that you put on yourself on this experience. And it kind of ties in with point number 7. If you force this to be what you want it to be, it can't be what you need it to be. And again, I think people come into this with certain expectations and certain wants and external things they're looking for. And of course, I think a lot of people get surprised by, things they're struggling with that they weren't expecting to be struggling with. And I think people at points try to push those away, try to get back on track. But again, I think, the universe has a way of showing us the things we need to face, especially when it comes to like your internal kind of work and your development. And so again, like if you try so hard, again, just on the pressure of it to make this what you want it to be, that you won't get out of it what you need. So what's that song? How's that song go? You can't always get what you want, but if you try real hard, you might just get what you need or something. It's easier said than done, right? And like, again, like the only way out is through. It's hard, it sucks, but like that's the only way to fully get what you want out of this experience is just to sit with it, take the punches, to not try and avoid them, and to like really sit in the thing, sit with these things, and kind of, reflect on how much you can handle and what you can deal with. So not to harp on the same point in so many different ways, but again, we put so much pressure on getting what we want out of things that we don't really allow space for what we need and for what the kind of work that boils up. I think that kind of work is something that needs to be listened to. Number 8, you have to accept the whole thing. Again, it's like the highs and the lows of it, the struggles with the language, and like the plans falling through, and the things you're missing, and the friendships that maybe die off by your absence, by no longer being with these people. Like that's just a part of this experience, and you have to find solace and find a way to be okay with that. Like go with the flow, like follow the river wherever it leads. I think by doing so, you find so much more inner peace, and inner fortitude in this experience and just in life in general. So you have to accept the whole thing, right? The highs and the lows, and the more you try to maximize one, the good, and minimize the other, then I think you're kind of cheating yourself out of the full value that could be gleaned out of something like this, or just maybe life in general. Number 9, this is kind of funny. This is a kind of lighter-hearted one, but basically, bring the damn suitcase. I really challenged myself coming from the mindset of like, what do I really need, and trying to disconnect from my material possessions and being very Zen-like, and it worked out for me basically, right? But I think I came here with my backpack, a hiking backpack, a 55-liter, more or less hiking backpack, and like a suitcase about this big, and a little auto harp instrument, and that's all I brought with me. And more or less, I feel like I've gotten by. And it hasn't been anything that I've been like really like kicking myself over not bringing. And I think I've had a good mindset where like anything I wish I brought is just a lesson in flexibility, and kind of learning like, oh, I can do without this. Like it would be nice to have like maybe like a good pair of boots, but like I've survived without a pair of boots so far, even through the rainy season. And so it makes it a little more inconvenient and uncomfortable, but sometimes life is inconvenient and uncomfortable. And so I've kind of taken that in stride, but I think for anyone else trying to figure this out, I would say, a backpack, like bringing one suitcase, I think would be sufficient. And instead of my duffel bag, if I brought one suitcase, like a 50-pound suitcase, hiking backpack, and like my regular school bag, I think that would have been sufficient. Just for some other few niceties, spices, some other like homey souvenirs. Like I think that'd be another pair of shoes. Like it's not that serious, especially in a place like Paraguay. Like we're not out in the sticks. Like you can get things. You're not hauling your suitcase down these muddy dirt roads. So I'm speaking from personal experience, but I would say like it's not that serious. I think one suitcase you can be allowed one suitcase, but I think there is a value in really trying to minimize and hone down on what you really need, and like what's just a nicety and what you can do without. I think there's a certain joy in the challenge of that, of figuring out what can I actually live with or live without, because I think we are so spoiled with all of our luxuries and our niceties that we kind of forget how adaptable we are. And I think it helps you learn about what you really want and what really matters, and what really is a necessity. So I think I would challenge people to go as minimal as they think is possible. Right, lay everything out on your bed and like get rid of half of it. I think is the general rule of thumb, which I worked for me, but certainly it's hard at some points. So that's number 9. And so number 10, final point. This is something that our old coordinator, volunteer coordinator, friend Emily, mentioned to me, which rings really true, is that I think, especially when it comes to experience like Peace Corps, where it's so unstructured, and you're really fighting motivation of other people, all these external factors out of your control. Like at the end of the day, you got to do what you want to do, and you got to really rely on the internal motivation and internal kind of energy to get things done. Because oftentimes, especially like me, like no one's worked with me before, no one knows what this process is like. Everyone has their own lives to deal with, which I respect, and I certainly don't want to come in here and like force these people to get with the program. But I came here with a big bag of like goals I kind of wanted to do, and I think with like my sector of community health, there's so many ways to tie projects into this idea. Where like I think if you follow your own interests, and again, I think there's such a great value here in kind of having time to learn what your interests are and where your natural curiosities lie. That especially when it's in the summer months and no one's doing anything, and like no one, it's and everything's falling apart. Just do what you want to do, even if it's not even related to your sector, what you're quote unquote supposed to be doing. Will make this experience 10 times more fun and enjoyable. It's like some examples of that is that I've always wanted to like work with bees in beehives. And so like I don't know how I'm going to connect that to community health, but like I know I can, and I know I will, because like I want to work with bees. And so that's going to be something I know I will do, and I'm in the process of doing. I've always wanted to be on a radio show. There's something about like putting music on or interviewing or just working with like the headsets and like the technology of it has always fascinated me. Like I have no idea how that looks like. I don't have a radio station in my sight, but that's where my natural interests lie. And so like I want to follow that and see where it leads. And also have like a lot of other little side interests. Like I want to learn how to juggle more, and I want to learn how to write better and read. And like I want to do some like constellation, like stargazing. And so I think if you follow your natural interests, it's a lot easier to then connect those interests to what you're trying to do versus trying to work backwards. And especially if if you can't find the motivation in yourself, I think people can key in on that pretty quickly. That you're trying to pull something over on them, and I think people feed off of your energy as well. So I guess like really like just trust yourself. You're gonna have a good impact. You're doing the work every day. Really, just do what you want to do. Like it's not that serious. Have fun. This is like a once in a lifetime opportunity for many people, and so like you best bet I'm gonna make the most of the experience. I'm gonna have a good time in whatever sense that makes sense to me. And so I'm really excited for the summer, and like I really got some great things lined up. And if everything falls apart, and like that's just more time for me to read. So that's I really can't lose here, which I think is a great mindset to have. And again, like just letting go, right? It's just made it so much easier. And so that's basically the 10 points I have. It's definitely been a long vlog, but again, I think this has been good to just reflect on these 5 months, because like again, like you got to be present. You can't be stuck in the future or the past, because like this time is going to fly by, and you got to do what you want to do, not what other people want you to do. You got to get out of this experience what you want out of this experience, because I do think like there's this what a privilege this is to be here. That's something I always reflect on when I don't have many bad days, but some days I do, and I just reflect on like how privileged, how lucky I am to be here, to have these conversations, to be 7,000 miles from home, to be learning this new language, to be breaking bread with these people. It was like I remember where I was 2 years ago, when I was still thinking about this process, not knowing what it would look like, or not knowing where I'd be, or what work I would do, or like, is this worth it? Is it not? And like now I'm looking back, like of course it's worth it. Like of course Like, why would I have any doubt? I'm like, oh, I have no idea where this will lead in my future life, but I'm thinking about today. I'm thinking about tomorrow. I'm not thinking about 2, 3 years down the line. I'm just thinking about how lucky I am, and just to be sharing humanity with these people in this country I've never been to before, in this community I've never heard of before, making these memories, making this impact, maybe changing hearts and minds, maybe spreading peace and friendship, as we're trying to do. It's really connecting on that human level. Again, like my little neighbor kid, like, you don't know the impact you're having until maybe 30, 40 years down the line. But it's that one thing you said to someone could spark a whole a whole life trajectory change. And so I think I find a lot of solace in that as well, where it's like, and I've been thinking a lot about legacy, and the kind of impact I want to have on this earth, and with the ability and the time I have, which is one of the reasons I'm doing this whole vlogging thing. And so every day I'm gonna try my best to enjoy the day, and watch the sun come up and watch the sun go down, and focus on what I'm here to do, because I think to do any less would be a disservice to myself and be a disservice to this experience that I've been so lucky to be given. So with that, not to be all prosaic, I believe, all too long-winded and verbose, I think I'll leave it there. I think I certainly want to maybe do some other lighter-hearted things, maybe a house tour at some point, or maybe interviews with other cohort members if ever anyone shows up at my site, or I visit other people's sites, and I think that'd be kind of fun to do, and get other people's perspectives. But at the very least, this is kind of a cathartic experience to get this out. And so with that, if you've followed along for this whole thing, or if you put it on in the background, that's great. I appreciate it. It's a great little first vlog for Tereré, Rupi. Hopefully my Guarani gets a little better throughout these next two years. But I'm excited and I have a lot of ideas for more content to come. So with that, I bid you adieu. Until the next one, ciao, ciao.